of Canada, which is a government agency, did a survey, and they actually found that financial well-being links with lower levels of stress, greater health, both physical and mental health, and with the freedom to make choices. So, and who doesn't like having options and choices to make? But interestingly, the survey also found that financial well-being is not just about the amount of money you make, which is what you might think. The more money that you make, the more comfortable you would be around managing your expenses. But the survey found that's not the entire picture. They also found that it has to do with money choices and money behavior, especially as it relates to spending behaviors, saving behaviors, and borrowing behaviors. So today's workshop, we're going to focus on saving. That same survey by the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada found that Canadians who actively save have higher levels of financial well-being than those with the same level of income who don't actively save. Now, certainly you probably have some experience with saving already, from piggy banks all the way, hopefully, to maybe a bank account, to maybe some of you even having savings accounts in addition to your checking account. So saving is a decision and a choice you've maybe already been making. Actively saving is really about making those smart financial decisions with the money that you have left over after paying for your needs each month. The goal, I think, of actively saving then is to maximize your wealth so that not only can you comfortably manage your commitments, but also maybe purchase some wants for enjoyment or prepare for things in the future, like buying a car, going away to school, maybe eventually buying a house, and as I said, someday retiring and relaxing. And also, as the pandemic, I think, has really made clear to us, surviving setbacks and unexpected events and being prepared to manage those. Now, at one end, you could put that extra money you have each month in a savings account or in some kind of short-term investment, like a certificate of deposit. So these are options that typically offer a low return, meaning they don't really grow very much over time. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you could put your money in investments like stocks on the Toronto Stock Exchange, for example, or bonds, index funds, commodities, cryptocurrencies, real estate, and all other types of investments. So these options have the potential for much higher returns, meaning they may grow or their value could increase quite substantially potentially over time, but they can also decrease, and that's why these options are considered riskier. So when you're making choices about where to put that extra money each month, it's going to depend on a number of things, including when you think you're going to need that money in the future and how much risk you're willing to assume during that time. So if you need money in the short term, you're probably going to want to choose lower risk options. But if you don't need that money for a while, then you might be willing to take on a little bit more risk because you'd have more time to recover if the value did go down. All right, so some of you might be thinking, all well and good, Tracy, that's wonderful, but I don't have any extra money. That's not me. So today's your lucky day. In just a few short minutes, you're going to get to play a game. And this is a game where every 6 months in virtual game time, you're going to have some extra money, and you're going to need to decide what to do with that extra money. Decide if you're going to save it, if you're going to invest it, and if you're going to invest it in what are you going to invest it. And you're still going to have to manage life while you're doing this. And life might throw you some unexpected things along the way. And some of those things might be a little bit expensive. So you'll need to think about that as you're playing the game. The goal of the game is to build your wealth. So you're going to be playing this game against each other and a computer. And we're going to see who can generate the most wealth in 20 years. So very shortly, we're going to give you a code, a group code to help you get started. But first, I want you to just have a glimpse of what to expect when you enter the game so that you're prepared and get started right away. So each year of the game will be a minute long. So the game is going to take 20 minutes in total. And you'll see your progress here at the top of the screen. There'll be a progress bar that's going down as the 1 minute progresses. Every 6 months, you're going to earn some pocket cash, and that's going to show up here. you're going to need to decide what you do with that cash. Now, at the beginning of the game, your choices are going to be limited. You initially just see a savings account. But over time, more investing options are going to unlock for you. And eventually, you'll see all of these options: certificates of deposit, index funds, stocks, government bonds, commodities like corn or wheat, and gold. And there's pros and cons to investing your pocket cash in each. So it's going to be up to you to make your choices. Now, sometimes during the game, life is going to happen. And when it does, you might experience an unexpected cost, and you're going to need to cover that cost with your pocket cash. Or if you don't have enough pocket cash, you're going to have to find the funds from one of your investments or your savings account. Taking funds from some of the investments, it may come at a cost or maybe a penalty if you take it too early or at the wrong time. So you're going to want to plan accordingly. At any time in the 20 minutes, you can check how you're doing by looking at the leaderboard. All right, is everybody ready to play this game? So the first thing you're going to do is we're going to have you go to this site, and Usman's going to put the link to the site in the chat. So we'll make sure that gets there for everybody to go to. What I want you to do is open it in another window. You want to keep our window open for this meeting so that you can easily come back when the game is over, and also maybe hear us throughout the game or check the chat, as we will provide a few prompts throughout the game. So you'll want to open a second window and you'll want to go to the link. Usman, we'll just wait to make sure that gets there so everyone can get started. I'm not seeing it yet. Usman, is there, or Maddie, are you seeing it? Okay.
Not in the chat yet. No.
Did that work?
Yep, there it is.
All right, so first go to the site. Some of you, it looks like some of you already have, which is great. Once you're on the site, you'll want to choose play in a group. And then you'll enter the group code, and hopefully we can get Usman getting that code into the chat, and if not, we'll read it out for you. All right, the group code has just come up in the chat, I can see. So if you can enter that group code, you'll enter your name, first name, last initial, and then click join group, and the game should start. If you're not able to see the chat, I'll read out the group code for you. It is S M H X X S J X, I think I, and 1. All right. Once you're in, certainly let us know if anyone is having trouble. If you do run into difficulty, because we are not entirely sure if our group will have a cap put on by this game, the people who organize the game. If that's the case, you can certainly also play alone. What that means is you're playing against the computer. So if the group code doesn't work for you, please feel free to click play alone, and you can also enjoy the game that way. So let us know if anyone's having trouble. The game will continue for 20 minutes. It is timed. There will be no pauses, I believe. So at 20-minute mark, the game will end. We'll come back together and we'll talk about how you did. Usman, everything off to a good start?
So Tracy, just two questions here. So someone is saying, how do they close the pop-up instructions? Do you know what that's about?
Pop-up instructions that are appearing in the game.
Maybe once the host starts the game, they'll
Yeah,
just disappear.
I think
Okay.
that should
And yeah,
work.
that should answer your other question, Mohammed. Once the host starts the game, it should automatically curate to the site.
Usman, how are things looking on your end? Because you'll probably be able to see if people are in the game.
Yep. So I'm actually able to see all the people, but I guess it is not allowing me to start the game. I
Oh,
guess,
interesting.
yeah, I think it's too many participants, maybe.
It's not letting you start?
Yes, it's not letting me start the game.
Are you getting an error code or is it just a
Um,
matter of a refresh?
I'm not sure, but it's just not giving me the option to start.
Okay. So what I'm going to suggest, I guess, what we can try to do is instead of playing in the group, click play alone. So you might need to back up into the main site again and click play alone. We will continue to try to get that group started over the next minute or so to see if it will. But it may be that we have surpassed a limit or something. We are not sure on why we can't get the group playing together. So hopefully we can get people playing alone, if not in the group. And if you want to let us know in the chat if things are working for you, that would be great too, to know that some people have been able to get started, whether it's alone or in the group. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Yeah.
So I think everyone has this information now. So I can also play alone is working. Thank you very much. And yes, it does look like for some reason we're being prevented from starting the game, whether it's a limit issue or not, we're not sure. So it looks like playing alone might be our best way of getting you to experience these decisions we wanted you to have to make over the next 20 minutes. So as you're playing, you should be seeing that countdown in the top showing you that time is passing in your 20 years. As time passes, you will see some messages popping up on the bottom of your screen that say unlock a new investment. When you click into that, it will explain the investment briefly, and then you'll have new choices that you can then make. So keep an eye also on the bottom of your screen for investments unlocking over the time period. I believe by about the halfway mark, all of the investments should be available to you. I might be a little bit off on the timing on that. So continue making your choices. Pocket cash is going to keep arriving every 6 months or every half minute. Decide where you're going to put that money. And from time to time, some life events are going to happen that you'll have to figure out how you're going to manage with the money, either in your pocket cash or in your investment choices you've made at that time. And as you play the game, if anything comes up that you're wondering about, feel free to pop that into the chat. We'll be happy to provide some information. As I said, we were hoping to be able to see the group game progress and be able to know a little bit more about what was happening for you. But certainly you can ask your questions and we'll do our best to help you along the game. But hopefully everyone's time is progressing and you're starting to build your wealth. All right, so what you're seeing now, Usman will play so that there is also some visual here since we can't share the group. But we'll have Usman playing along too so that can kind of see the progression of the game, especially if you're having any difficulty playing it. So you can see as time is passing, Usman is getting access to more investment choices. Hopefully you are too. You need to be unlocking those on the bottom of your screen when they do pop up. You can, if you're playing alone, so now that you're not others to see, you can certainly still check the leaderboard and you'll see how the computer is doing against you. So that gives you an idea of the decisions they're making relative to the decisions you're making. So as opposed to competing with each other this time, maybe you can see if you can beat the computer. As Usman is showing here, you can also see what your portfolio looks like at a given point in time. It gives you a bit of a pie chart showing you how your money is invested. You can also see a number of different stocks that you can choose from. As you'll see towards the end of the game that these actually mimic real companies. They're not using obviously the real company name in this game, but they are using the data from real companies over a period of time. So these are actually real results over a period of time that you're experiencing if you're investing in those stocks. Oh, looks like Usman is getting married. Not a very cheap thing to have happen. Having to come up with some money now to pay for that wedding. Hi, Jessica. If you're just coming in, you can try just clicking play alone instead of trying to use any kind of group code, and hopefully that will work for you. Again, you see Usman is just unlocking another investment. So if you're not seeing all those investments on your screen, you probably have an unlock message at the bottom of your screen to access more investments. Looks like Usman's got a stock that's doing really well right now. Just popped up on the screen. You will see some little messages coming out of our money pig on the corner of your screen there. Sometimes giving you a little bit of a nudge in a certain direction. Doesn't mean the pig knows what it's doing, but certainly telling you and giving you some information. As we see here, Usman's opening another investment type, which is a commodity. If you're not sure what that is, you can think about things like corn or wheat. In this case, it's coffee that he's investing in as a commodity. And life still seems to be happening from time to time. Family emergency there for Usman to deal with. Something he was able to manage from the pocket cash. Wow, that's a good one. On TV, double winner, little extra windfall for Usman right now. Working in the up help pay for that wedding, I guess. So you can see he's getting close to the computer now, the leaderboard there. And I think our final investment type is being unlocked now for Usman, which is gold, which you'll see now. So if you're hitting about the halfway mark, or maybe you're a bit past that, you should now be seeing all of the different investment types that you can choose from for the balance of the game. You can see the little prompts popping up suggesting that Usman invest some of that pocket cash. Cash just sitting idle like that is certainly not growing. So that's why it's nudging him to make some choices that might help that money grow a little bit more. Usman had a sick cat. Anyone out there who has a pet at home knows that those expenses pop up from time to time. Oh, but look, the cat's come back. Made some money for Usman now, so that vet bill was worth it after all. We look at the leaderboard, it looks like the computer's jumping a bit ahead of Usman now. He was pretty close there a little while ago. His gold investment's taken a tumble, but maybe it's creeping up a little bit now. We're somewhat heading into the home stretch, and I know some of you might have started a bit before Usman. You may be a little further ahead in your years. So certainly as you are approaching the end of your game, maybe let us know just so that we can wrap up and have time to debrief with everyone. If your game is coming to an end, you reached year 20, pop a little message into the chat so we can keep track of how people are doing. Looks like Usman had a bit of a medical emergency. We'll probably give another minute or two, but I suspect some of you are getting closer to the end of your game. As I mentioned, if you're able to, please message us to let us know you're done so that we get a sense of timing for switching over and kind of debriefing what happened. Well, it looks like Usman's made a comeback. Computer, he's getting a lot closer to the computer now. Thank you, Michelle, year 19. Appreciate that. Gives us a sense of where people are at. Excellent, 331,000. Shanae, we've got a few more people wrapping up now. Great, thank you. So let's give it one more minute. We'll then let Usman keep playing. And we'll start sort of talking about how it went as he finishes up, and then we can take a look at his results in the computer and what happened there. Wow, we've got someone with 700,000. Somebody knew what they were doing. Thanks, Mohammed. Great. A few more just finishing the game, so perfect. Don't want to rush anyone, but also don't want everyone sitting. So another 30 seconds or so, and I'll sort of transition while Usman finishes his last 2 years. Great to see all these different results coming in. Thank you for sharing. All right, while Usman finishes up his last year then, I think we'll get started since several of you have said that you're done. I just want to kind of debrief what happened. How did you do? And maybe if we've got lots of people going into the chat right now, did anyone beat the computer? Did anyone, when they check their leaderboard, do better than the computer? I see we've got a few. Yes, excellent. Good. All right. I may come back to some of you in a little bit and ask you what went on. So we're going to launch the first poll question. And what I want you to do in that poll is take a moment and think about your strategy. And Usman, I don't know if you can keep your screen up there. It's just maybe it gives us a chance to see what the computer did. But before sharing that, just I want you to take a moment, think about your strategy. There's a poll coming up here. You should see it on the side panel. And let us know which one of these matched your strategy best. Maybe you had a slightly different strategy and that's okay, but which one of these 4 matched your strategy the best?
They're coming in, Tracy, so we'll give it a
Great.
couple minutes.
Thank you. I will admit the first time I played this game, I was definitely a D, just randomly clicking on stuff to see what happens. So don't worry if your strategy was no strategy at all. Absolutely okay way to play the game. So as you're doing that, maybe we'll give it just a few more moments, Maddie. Usman, did you want to show us, are you able to go and see what the computer did against you? And what the computer's strategy might have been? All right, take a look at that computer portfolio there. Not a lot of color on that pie chart. You'll notice right away that the computer basically put all of its money into index funds with the exception of a little bit for pocket cash. And index funds, these are really groups of investments that are managed by a money manager. And one of the really important principles of investing is diversification, which means you want to spread your money out across a variety of investment types and a variety of sectors and different areas of investment. When you diversify, when you have trouble in one investment, that can be offset or balanced by success in another investment type or in another investment sector. So index funds, which is why the computer chose to invest in them, they're diversified already. So you don't have to be making as many decisions to balance your own portfolio. The money manager does the work for you. And as you can see, if we go up again on Usman's screen, how did the computer do relative to a slightly more diversified portfolio than Usman? Did you beat the computer, Usman, or did it beat you?
No, I beat the computer.
You did. So his slightly more invested or diversified portfolio did beat the computer, but you can see that the computer did pretty well. And as I saw only a handful of you in the chat mentioning that you were able to beat the computer, you'll see that the computer does win a lot of times in this game because diversification and those index funds is a pretty decent strategy, especially for someone who doesn't know a lot about investing, and therefore you can rely on some of the knowledge of the money manager to help you do that. So it's certainly a strategy that can work, as we see with the computer here. But you said some of you did say that you beat the computer, and I don't know if I can see the chat now. Any of you want to pop in what your strategy was or how your strategy differed? for those people who did beat the computer? Someone said I put a lot of money into savings. Interesting. Anyone else who beat the computer want to share sort of what worked for them the most? So we've got some savings, some certificates of deposit, bonds. We're seeing a variety. Gold. Somebody hit it big with gold. Index funds, government bonds, a little bit of everything. So we're getting a lot of different things here. And that's the reality of the market. It's difficult to predict. As you can see on Usman's screen, this is actually data from a real period of time. And I missed when he was scrolling what that period of time was. But this is using real data from the period 1984 to 2004. So while diversification is definitely one of those key principles and strategies we strongly encourage when you're investing, sometimes you can just time a buy and sell decision at just the right time. And it can do really well, that single investment, and really do well for you. But it is very difficult to time the market, and luck plays a big part of that strategy, if you want to call it that. So if you just think about the last 15 to 18 months of the pandemic, would have been very hard for someone to predict the pandemic, predict the impact of the pandemic, and predict how the market would have responded throughout the pandemic. So certainly having a strategy of timing the market is a very difficult thing to do, but sometimes your timing can really work for you. And in the case where you beat the computer, that might have just been it. You might have just had great timing, whether it was accidental or whether it was intentional. So last polling question I want to throw out here is, if you were to play the game over again, how might you approach the game differently now that you've been through it, now that you've thought about some of these things? Give that a minute or so to come in. Someone's saying invest in more index funds. Please feel free to throw it in the chat, but you've also got the poll there that you can use too. But it's great to see answers coming into the chat. Someone said they had too much pocket cash and not doing enough with it. And that's the third one we have here. You have to find that balance between the amount of pocket cash for those emergencies, or at least something accessible like a savings account, versus things that there could be more impact if you do pull that money out to cover an emergency or an unexpected expense. Joanna said the index fund was not her best performer. So again, this timing coming into play and being a big part of that. Someone said they kind of left 5,000 around in sort of cushion for those unexpected things to happen. And I think since you played alone, your unexpected events actually varied. Whereas had we been playing in a group, I think we would have all been consistent, but you probably got slightly different unexpected events than you were seeing on Usman's screen. All right, I'm going to come back. Thanks, Maddie. How did that come out in terms of a response for our poll?
Okay, so that's just rendering for me here, but it looks like right off the top, most said I would try to diversify more by investing in index funds and spreading out their money. Yeah. So that seemed to be the takeaway.
And a good takeaway, if there is one around investing, it's diversification. So Usman, I'll get you to stop sharing, and if that can come back to me, I'll just wrap up the presentation with a few final slides.
Okay, I'll make you presenter Tracy, and so you can do that. Okay. Okay, you should see that.
I do see it now. Thank you.
Perfect. No problem.
And are you seeing my screen now?
Not yet.
Not yet. Let me know when you don't. No, it isn't showing me as being shared. Hold on a second. There we go.
There you go.
That should work, right? Excellent. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So just to wrap up, there is a great debrief form here. I'll have Usman put this link into the chat for you. If you want to dig a little bit deeper into the results of your game, or you want to play the game again and think about that, there's certainly some great questions in this debrief document just to help you think about why you made the decisions that you did and whether you'd want to make a different decision next time. So we'll share that link with you so that you can continue to explore and play this game on your own. One other takeaway, I said if you come away with something, the diversification message is certainly important, but another one, and it may not have been as obvious in the game, but it's still really important, is to start saving early. So that computer, as it was playing, it was putting money immediately into something to make it grow. The more often and the earlier you do it, the more your money can grow. When you have money just sitting idle in pocket cash, it really wasn't doing anything for you. So the sooner you start saving, no matter the amount, the more your money can grow. And I just provide a few examples here for you to see that even investing a small amount per week or per year, even at rate of 5%, which is pretty reasonable if you were investing in the market, things can grow pretty well for you. So start soon, start early, and every little bit counts. That's the big message. Finally, I'll just wrap up by saying there's lots of other ways that you can build your financial literacy skills, whether it's competence or confidence or both. Curiosity is key. Ask questions, find opportunities to learn more if this is interesting to you. One way you can do that is to explore the financial literacy resources we have on our financial literacy in the classroom site. I've got it up on the screen here. So these resources are designed for high school students and high school teachers. They cover a variety of financial literacy topics. And if you want to even take it further, maybe you want to do a bigger challenge, we actually have a financial literacy competition that happens twice per year, hosted by the School of Accounting and Finance. We get financial support from Sagen, who you see on the screen, which is Canada's largest private mortgage insurance company. It's offered twice a year in May and in December, and it's open to high school students in grades 9 through 12. It's online, it's 60 questions, 60 minutes, and covers topics like credit, banking, investing, economics, accounting, fraud, home ownership, post-secondary education, budgeting, a variety of topics. So if you're looking for a challenge, it's a great place for you and you to go. Registration is needed. It's not something you can just do on your own. So speak to a teacher at your school and they can get your class registered and set you up for that competition. So thank you, everyone. That's the end of the workshop. I appreciate your patience as we sort of work through our little group glitch there. We clearly passed the limit of what was allowed in the group. We weren't able to find that beforehand, so you tested that theory for us that there might have been a limit. Glad you could play on your own, and from the chat, I see that lots of people enjoyed it, so that's great. Continue to play the game, continue to explore, and hopefully we'll see you at a future competition. Thanks, everyone. Happy to stick around for some questions for a few minutes if anyone has one, but I know you may be headed to another session. So enjoy the rest of your day.
I'll just monitor the Q&A chat if Tracy and Usman stay on, but yeah, you guys are free to leave and stay tuned for tomorrow. I know we have another big day coming up. Thanks all for joining. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your thank yous. I see lots coming in.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Okay, thanks guys so much. That was super fun. That was awesome.